Hello, all. I hope everyone is having a productive and enjoyable and meaningful week. We will be continuing with our weekly Torah portion review. This week we are in the portion of Vayeshev, which direct translation in Hebrew would be he sat. But what we mean is that he settled, that Jacob has finally settled in the land, coming back from his adventurous, adventurous times outside the land in the house of Laban. And these are fascinating portions. Now we're introduced to Joseph, the brothers, the disputes. We make our way down to Egypt, the next portion. But it is really a fascinating few portions, which I definitely recommend people delve into. Specifically today, I want to try to touch upon what I believe the root of the dispute between Joseph and his brothers are. So the fundamental disagreement between them is really regarding how they see the nature of a nation. And this week portion starts, like we said, with Jacob's exile ending. He comes back and he settles in the land where his fathers dwelt, the land of Canaan. And this is, in a very true sense, representing the essence of the messianic aspiration. So I come back to the land, I get to live there peacefully, and this is opposed to temporary dwelling, right? So still being the nomad. From Abraham's commandment to go forth, now Jacob could finally settle. However, it seems that Joseph has a different form of existence that he sees that doesn't necessarily align with settling in the land of Canaan, and even we start seeing this in his dreams. He dreams first of the stars at night, and generally speaking, the night symbolizes exile, and he is seemingly dreaming of visions that are taking him away from home. We know this to ultimately mean Egypt, but this is what he's seeing as an ideal. Like these dreams are talking to me and they're taking me away. And the second dream with the bundles of wheat here too, he tells the brothers that we are in my dream. I'm gathering these bundles of wheat, um, and this too is sort of symbol. This symbolizes uh, the 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 need to gather wheat for the entire world, as in assisting them from an economic point of view, sustenance. And it's also important to stress that the Israelites, or at that time the tribes, were sheep herders, goat herders. They weren't dealing with wheat necessarily. So he's also introducing this whole new, more modern version of agriculture, so to speak. And this again is a more of a universal conversation that he is interested in happening in having. And again, this is happening in the backdrop of the blessing that was given to Abraham, that all the nations of the world, all the families of the world will be blessed through you. So how are we realizing this universal vision? Um, and this debate takes us back all the way to what happened in the house of Aver with Abraham. So we had this tension with Nahor, his father, and Abraham. And Abraham currently at that time is in the center of, let's say, we'll call it the cultural world, and their own theological beliefs. And he's been told by God to leave the center and move on to the periphery, go on for yourself. On the flip side, there's a way to look at this: people coming from the periphery and coming back into the center as well. So these are two different models that we're talking about over here. And I think these are the two models that we see Joseph offering and Judah slash his brothers offering as well. So on Joseph's side, he feels that he's being very faithful to the trials that his forefathers had. He knows about the trials that Abraham had with Nimrod, and that Isaac had with Avimelech, and that Jacob had with Laban, where they had to remove themselves from their periphery and join the center and join the rest of the world, so to speak, in a universal setting. However, the brothers' response to him are they're very nervous in these kind of failed trials. they're very happy that their father came back to the land of Israel finally, that he settled in the land, and they are not really interested in illuminating the nation from within their own culture and hoping that they acknowledge us. And while Joseph seemingly is very interested into this idea, he is too young to remember the failed attempts that his forefathers had. If we recall, when Jacob leaves the house of Laban, that's just when Joseph is born. So he doesn't know how difficult it was for Jacob and his forefathers to interact with the rest of the world while trying to maintain their own unique, at the time, monotheistic understanding and relationship with God. And the brothers who are older, specifically Judah, are aware of this and see this as a danger. Um, in in reality, what we want to have over here is some sort of uh, um, synthesis where each side learns from the other, right? If we just isolate Joseph in his model from his brothers, we're getting this cosmopolitan Judaism, but it's on the verge of assimilation, right? So we know that Joseph specifically, he relies on we call him Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef the righteous. So he's relying on his righteousness, the fact that he has this unique quality, and that's why he always remains an Israelite. He always remains Hebrew, and that's why he could allow himself to dive deep into the Egyptian culture, right? He's never worried about that himself. On the other hand, if we isolate Judah from Joseph, we get someone that's only focusing on the internal identity, and he's not focusing anymore on influencing the other identities, which we could call, let's say, the exile model of Judah. And this is why we specifically need this interaction between Joseph and Judah, this dialectic that ultimately builds a model that can function as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, influencing the entire world. And in a certain sense, these are the first seedlings. Well, not the first seedlings, but these are more evident seeds of the Messiah, son of David, that ultimately comes also from the house of Judah to the Messiah, son of Joseph. And each have their own mission and their own understanding. If they're all working alone, it ends up being devastating. But if we could work together, we could find that to be very, very beneficial to us. Just to bring it into modern times, and I'm sure people in the TLC have heard me discuss this before, but in a real sense, part of this dispute is still echoing today with the the fight between the democratic and the Jewish components of the state. One representing Judah, one representing Joseph, each trying to create a vessel, a form to allow us to move towards that messianic area where we could dwell in our land in peace. Amen. So have a Shabbat Shalom. Take care, and we'll see you next week.